When you spend too much time with the wrong people, something insidious happens. It's often invisible, you don't realize that you're doing it. But this mental habit begins to cycle, and you cannot see it. So, hello, I'm Yanique Bell. I'm a certified intimacy coach and spiritual guide. And in this video, I want to talk about the cost of always having to defend yourself. So, typically, when we're with the wrong people, what I mean by that, by the wrong people, because ultimately, I believe we belong everywhere, right? When you know how to see belonging from within, no one can make you feel small, but if you're not there yet in your own growth journey, or I mean, we're all human, right? We can only take so much of being in the wrong space with the wrong people, right? It's okay if you have those spaces where you just have to show up or you're showing up because it's a part of your mission. But if that's all you're surrounded by, it's going to eat away at your spirit. It's going to eat away at your sense of stability, inner stability. And that's actually what I want to talk about today. So, when I say you've been spending too much time with the wrong people, I mean people who don't understand you, who don't maybe see what you're doing or why you do what you do, who don't understand why maybe you prioritize certain things, why certain things are more important to you than others. These are people who just don't get it. And in a more damaging aspect, these might be people who don't want to get it, who want to purposefully make you feel like your dreams are odd, your desires are odd, the way you approach your life is odd. They might mentally know you're just different, but they also may mentally know that they can kind of pull on your strings uh, through trying to control how you perceive yourself. So sometimes it's not intentional, and other times it very much is. But what this can do to a human brain when we've been around people who don't get us, who don't have that like cellular connection that says, I see you. I get why you are the way you are. I get why you're doing what you're doing. When you don't have, I hate to sound like a corporate like, I don't know, a corporate bro, but when you don't have that synergy, it actually does something to us biologically. And that's because one of the ways our species has evolved to do life, to navigate life, and not just our species, just about every mammal, is to co regulate. And that means we rely on each other to regulate our nervous systems, to feel solid inside. And yes, you can develop the skill of doing this for yourself, but we still, even when you have that skill of self regulation, you still need those relationships where you have that compatibility, that synergy that says, I'm going to hold you with tenderness because I love you. I see what you're doing. I understand you. And I'm going to soothe you because you're not hard to understand. I get it, right? Even if we're different, I still love and care for you. And that helps us to mirror that within our own nervous system and care for ourselves. And so, even if you can self regulate, every time you're in these environments with the wrong people, if that's all you're encountering, then you don't get that co-regulation. You don't get that mirroring. And every time you show up in these spaces, you have to be defending yourself. So you could even be at a point where you don't have that self-regulation down, right? Where you're dysregulated and you just keep showing up because you feel obligated to these relationships. Maybe you've known them for a long time. And every time you show up in those spaces and you don't have any avenues where you're getting that, right, that cozy feeling, then you're just always in this armored defensive state. And especially if you're someone who has dealt with this for most of your life, maybe this is all you've really known in relationships. Maybe you're the black sheep of your family or the scapegoat of your family, then every encounter kind of reminds you of that, right? And you're kind of used to protecting yourself and people just not getting you. And maybe you have to dim down or pretend, right? Pretend that you're not something so that other people feel comfortable being in relationship with you. When you've only known this, you can think, you know what? This is just what it's like. And you can actually start to and this is something I've I've had to overcome myself, so I'm laughing. You can actually start to warp in your brain that, you know what, I'm so loving that I can just show up, and even if people don't like me, I'll still show up, and even if people don't treat me the best, I'll still show up and be the best friend for them. I'll still show up and be I'll still show up and be the best daughter, be the best son. And yeah, like that's just, it becomes a part of your own story and what you define as inner strength. You think that you actually like part of doing life. It's just that you just show up for people regardless of how they're treating you because it's what you just keep seeing replicated. And you don't even see the patterns of how it has impacted your nervous system and how you've now come to equate relationships with this guardedness, like they're just fundamentally unsafe. And you then don't get to actually actively go out and choose, right? Relationships that are safe, that make your body release that armor. It's not something you do intentionally. It just becomes a part of your story, right? That subconscious coding. You don't realize that you're doing it. You've essentially been stripped of choice without realizing it, without like consciously knowing that you have. You have a story that says relationships are just like this. I'm just super weird. I'm alien. People don't get me. And this is just the cost of relating is I have to either dim down, pretend, make things that are important to me seem not as important, kind of fib about who I am and what I'm about to make this relationship work. And if you are doing this, I want to tell you that is not a fair position to put yourself in. That is unfair to you. And what you are interpreting as strength is really just your body literally tensing in a fight or flight response every time you're in that position where you have to defend yourself all the time. No, I'm not that kind of person. Or, yeah, I'm into this, but not like that. That tensing is a sympathetic response to a perceived threat. That tensing is a sympathetic response to being in an environment, being around people that your brain is actually telling you are threatening. But because you have this story, and likely it's not one, like I said, that you've written intentionally, it's just something that has compounded after years and years of experiencing that incompatibility, being around the wrong people. When you have that story going, you're listening to that story instead of what's happening in your body. And so when your body is tensing and in fright, right, and you have all this anxiety, your brain gives you like a little additional line to make that fundamental story make sense, right? So, oh, I'm tensing or I feel anxious. It's just because I just have generalized anxiety. It's not these people. Or I'm taking things too seriously, right? We start to fill in stories that affirm that fundamental story that says, this is just what relationships are like. If that's resonating with you, then give this video a like, and we'll use that like button as a way to say, hey, you're not alone. So if the more people who like it, others can see that they're not alone in this experience, and a lot of us have gone through this. So give this video a like if this is resonating. And so I want to talk about what this is costing you. Beyond even the detrimental cost of never finding a place where your body can rest, never feeling safe enough to fully socially engage, reach that ideal state, nervous system state of social engagement. Your vagus nerve is activated, your body feels like it's safe to go into rest and replenishment mode. It's safe to connect with others. It's safe to connect with our sensuality, to be creative. We need that. We need that. And so there is that obvious cost of always being on the defense in these relationships, in your nervous system, never feeling safe to really relax and connect and be yourself. But there's also another hidden cost that I wish someone had told me years ago, because I absolutely was one of those people that just felt like I was a spiritual warrior, right? I can love harder than you can hate. I can love harder than you can manipulate. Whatever, is going on, I'll still love you. I now know, at least for me, what love is on a spiritual level. And it's not about putting yourself in compromising situations with harmful people, trying to love them to a point where they'll change. It's never going to happen. It's not about that. When I really connect to my deeper self, love is actually just this gentle holding. It's saying, you do you, and I'm going to still stay connected to my soul self, my deeper self, and I don't need to try to change you or control you. I have that sense of that capacity to simply witness you, right? And to me, that's the definition of love, to really just be there for others and not try to project or influence or whatever. That's what real love is to me. But every time we show up in these relationships and say, I'm a spiritual warrior, I'm the best at loving. I can love you regardless of what you're doing. That is a sneaky way of actually trying to control and, in our own ways, feel safe, because we think that that is the cost of relating. So it's not actually about love, it's actually about that underlying story that says, I have to put up with this because this is just what relationships are. And that's just what I've experienced. And this is the cost of being in connection. So here's the thing that I wish someone had told me. And it's that you cannot flourish when you're in that space of always defending yourself. You cannot flourish. You're always going to be adjusting who you are, muting yourself, dimming yourself, overthinking how you're coming off. You're always going to be doing these little calculations. You're essentially constricted, right? You might mentally know you're free, technically, but it feels like you're in this straitjacket. And I'm someone who decided I really wanted to be free. In my 20s, I went on a massive transformational journey. And I think it just made people uncomfortable because they couldn't find that old Yanique again, or they were afraid actually, because she was still there. I was still my funny, likable, lovable self, but I was just being more of myself. And I could tell though, they wanted me to stay the same. So they wanted, me to not be, even if I was going to be this liberated, sensually alive woman, they wanted it on their terms. And to make them comfortable, I would, you know, try to make them feel like, yeah, 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 this is still within the limits of what you'd accept, knowing probably not. I'm different now. And I'm going to do what I want to do. And so you don't realize, like, over time, initially I was like, oh, it's okay. I'm just, no one owes me full acceptance. No one owes me that comfort and relationship. Which now, as I'm saying it, I'm like, how ridiculous. Absolutely, you deserve full acceptance. I'm realizing this not now, but It is a realization that I've come to over the years. It's just like how ridiculous that it's just rehearing myself say that again makes me go, wow, how ridiculous, how ridiculous. And I hope that maybe if you share that story, me saying that out loud is helping you to go, how ridiculous. Of course, of course. You know, if I'm here giving all this love and acceptance to other people, why shouldn't I have it too? Right? Something's off here. And so I didn't see that I actually was never going to flourish as long as I was trying to make those relationships work, as long as I was trying to maintain, right, and pay the price for being in connection. Pay the price. This is just a price. That meant the price I was actually paying was that I would not flourish. You cannot flourish as long as your body is in that state of sympathetic stress response, which can lead to, right? Because this is what happened with me. As life starts to compound, challenges enter your life. You're already in that state of fight or flight. The next level to that, right? If that's not working, your body shuts down, right? And you're really going to feel the lack of support when you start to shut down. Some of you have probably also already experienced this. If you haven't yet, let this be a little note of wisdom. You deserve to be around people who make you feel safe, right? You deserve fundamentally safe relationships. And it's time to release that story that relationships fundamentally are unsafe, or that's just the price you have to pay, is you have to be a little bit less of yourself in order to have connection. So, I have an invitation for you. If you want to start the work of feeling safe again within your own nervous system, of regulating your nervous system, and also getting the tools to assess your relationship so that you can find safer people to connect with. Soften and Replenish is my 7-week vagus nerve reset program. In this program, I'm taking you literally just step by step. We're taking teeny tiny steps together every week to build new systems in your life that support your nervous system. Because likely this is not the only way that dysregulation is showing up. This might be a big thing that's actually keeping you dysregulated, but likely there are other areas of your life that it's created this kind of compounded and ripple effect where maybe you're not sleeping well, right? You are feeling exhausted. You're feeling wired, but also tired. You know, if you know that feeling, especially like late at night where it's like, I know I should be tired and go to bed, or like I'm like mentally exhausted, but I'm still kind of wired. That duality, if you're feeling that, this is for you. We're going to use systems thinking. I've really designed this program to be as easy on your nervous system as possible because we don't want to overstress you and push you out further into a dysregulated state. There is a method to this. And so we're going to start first with restoring that connection to you. So if you're someone who has been distracted by the story, unable to listen to those signs that your body is telling you, this is the perfect program for you. We're going to start with restoring that connection. And then we'll get into the impact that traumatic relationships or relationships where you don't have that permission to co-regulate. We'll get into what that's doing to your nervous system and how to break free and finally feel confident and safe to connect with safe people. So we'll rewrite some of that underlying story, but that all really starts with connecting to your body and giving your nervous system a space. Small pockets, we start with small pockets of your day where your nervous system feels safe to finally soften and replenish again. Because once you actually start to give yourself those small moments, your body knows what to do. And your thoughts, the thoughts you're experiencing, will actually start to change. This is actually coming from the polyvagal theory, which says that these different nervous system states, they're not just physiological responses to stress, they actually affect our temperature, our mood, and our thoughts. This has been the wildest thing for me is you'll notice that your thoughts change. One of my favorite manifestation teachers, Abraham Hicks, phrases it as you're starting to attract different thoughts when you're in different vibrations. And you really experience that to be true. You can see how your mind, the thoughts you're thinking, are not you. They're a reflection of your nervous system state. So if you've been struggling for years to flourish, to feel like you have that breakthrough moment in your career, in whatever it is that you're pursuing, and you feel like you're getting stuck in these negative thoughts about yourself, this self-shaming, and even though you might know that you're worthy, that you're intelligent, that you could do this, your brain is not supplying those thoughts. It's actually telling you otherwise, which is affecting the decisions that you're making and the opportunities you're going for. It's affecting how much you put yourself out there, even if you've been putting yourself out there for years or you think that you are. The quality of what you're putting out is being impacted by your nervous system state. And it can be so hard to rewire that old story when you're still in that state of feeling like you're on the defense or you're in shutdown. We have to start to create those spaces where your body can soften, and then you'll naturally feel those stories shift. This is what I wish I had known years ago when I started to do a lot of mindset work, work on your mindset, positive mindset, growth mindset. Yeah, you can only go so far if you're in a state of dysregulation, if you're constantly on the defense and feeling like you're in threatening environments around threatening people. Even if you don't think it, your body feels it. So if you'd like to join us in that 7-week program, it's actually a bit more than that because I do gift you a bonus 3 months of group coaching. But the core teachings and the lectures and all the playbooks, we'll go through it all together within the 7 weeks, the first 2 months. And then you also have additional time with me. But if you'd like to invest in yourself really and take that next step to heal your nervous system so that you can actually flourish, then go ahead. I'll leave the link in the description below. Go ahead and claim a spot. I've just announced the dates for our summer program. We'll be starting in June. Doors will close during the first week of June, but we'll begin on June 8th. So go ahead and claim your spot now. And if you're watching in the future, just go ahead and still tap the link and you'll see when the next live program will be starting. All right, thank you so much for watching. I hope that this was helpful. If you resonate with this, if this is your story too, leave me a comment, and hopefully you had that moment of like, why am I not expecting the same degree of love and acceptance that I give to others? Why am I not expecting it from others? Why don't I allow that to be my reality? Why do I believe I have to be this spiritual warrior and be the best at loving others, right? And allow people to just not show up for me? Why? Ask yourself why. You might be interested in the answer. So I hope this was helpful. If you resonated with this, comment below, and you'll want to check out this next video because there is another sneaky thing happening in your nervous system, and it has to do with this one chemical that's keeping you addicted to your hypervigilant, fearful, defensive response. Check out that video. I've also got 3 free vagal pleasure practices that you can try right now, totally free from the program. So go ahead and tap the link in my description to sign up for those free practices. Thanks for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, and hype this video if you can.